Welcome back to our second last show of this season for the NFL season, because we'll be back for March Madness. What a damn year it's been. I couldn't have done it without you people, and of course, without my incredible guests who show up every single week. As always, I'm your host, Dustin Saraceni, alongside Alpha and Matt. And although there are only 2 games this week, fellas, it's conference championship week. We still have a ton to talk about, including Matt's chest out plus 400 play. I mean, there's definitely a different word that I wanted to say other than chest. But this guy hit plus 400 last week with the Commanders' money line. Fellas, how we doing? Alpha, tell the people about the run you're on, too. And Matt, we'll get to you, of course.
Right now on a 12-1 free play run, so everything is going fantastically. Last week in the NFL playoffs, we went 4-0. We swept the divisional round. So right now we're seeing the board very well. Excited to give you guys some more winners this week.
Absolutely. And we talked about it off the top, but, Jaden Daniels led the Commanders to the biggest upset in the postseason. And if you're watching, you should have followed Matt's guidance on his plus 400 payday. Matt, take it away, man. What did you see from that game that you liked from Washington? And do you think they have a chance against Philly?
Well, what I liked was what I liked last week. It's just Jaden Daniels. The dude's just a different breed of cat. I used those exact words in my article this week. I didn't see this coming out. I mean, there was some talks, little pitter patter here and there that maybe the Bears should be thinking about Jaden Daniels instead of Caleb Williams. I'm like, no, that's insane. So it just this team, and I really liked Dan. I really liked the Dan Quinn, Dan Campbell matchup. I talked last week about how he did very well. Dan Campbell did as defensive coordinator in slowing down the Lions. So the Lions got their yards last week, but most of that was garbage time in the second half with Washington protecting a 14-point lead. I mean, Detroit scored 10 points in the second half, guys. I mean, that's a team that did not make the adjustments, and Washington did. I quote a friend of mine, blind squirrel finds nut, film at 11. I mean, I just had a feeling, and it hit. If it didn't hit, I would have a lot of egg over this big fat face today, but that's a big fat smile on the big fat face.
Hey, let's do it, boys. Let's get some picks in. Let's get some wins. That's usually what we do here on the show, but we got to run through some headlines first. Obviously, we got the Commanders there, but while we're on the topic of Washington, what the hell did happen to Detroit? Is this season kind of disappointing after going one and done? We all touted it was the best offense in the NFL. It's now gone. It took me a while to wrap my damn head around that one. So what do you guys, what's your take on Detroit's season in a nutshell, Alpha?
Fantastic season, disappointing end. There's no other way about it. Overall, disappointing season with the aspirations that they had, how talented they were all year long to go up against a Commanders team that you're favored over by more than a touchdown, and you can't even get the win. I have a question for you guys. I'm going to spin it back to you. So we're seeing a lot of reports here that guys like, what's his name, the offensive coordinator for the Commanders, Cliff Kingsbury, he didn't do any interviewing or talk about any head coaching opportunities during the postseason. Locked in, dialed in, and focused on his team and on the Commanders. While Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, we saw basically the day after the Lions were eliminated, signed new deals. So were their heads not fully in it? Were they thinking about their career? Maybe they're going to be moving on as they were. I mean, for me at least, I think that has to play a major factor in everything. And I also think the NFL needs to change it. The offseason is so long. Why do you allow these guys to meet with coaches during the playoffs? Why can't we move it back until after the season? It's still in February. You have still plenty of time to get your draft boards in order, plenty of time to get your organization in order. And I do think that played a role in this. But overall for the Lions, is it a disappointing season? There's no way as a Lions fan that you can look at this as anything less than a disappointing season. They had big dreams. They had a perfect matchup. They should have beaten this Commanders team, and they didn't. And I have to give a lot of credit to Matt. I didn't see anybody anywhere, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, ESPN, nowhere were people saying to take the Commanders money line. So Matt, unbelievable read by you. Great call.
Thanks, absolutely. And honestly, to your point, Alpha, I think obviously the NFL is a business. And if you can't compartmentalize those talks with, the incredible season that you're having going towards, a Super Bowl run with the Detroit Lions, then you're in the wrong business, to be honest. So I'm not sure if that had something to do with it, but maybe you never know, right? You never know behind the scenes what's actually going on with those negotiations. So that's a good point as well. Matt, do you think Detroit's season's a disappointing one?
Yeah, there's no other way to look at it disappointing, but you got to remember, guys, some franchises are just cursed. And I can't explain why or what it is. But this team has not been to a Super Bowl ever. 1957 was the last time they won a title. I think that even I was born more than a decade after that, and I'm an old man. So, but also let's not discount the injuries. Eventually, you get that many guys on IR, it's going to catch up with you in the playoffs. They caught the wrong team at the wrong time. Also, the Commanders are hot. The mobile quarterback thing I thought was going to be a problem for Detroit because they hadn't really faced many all season long. And then you talk about the coaching thing. I think Alpha's right. They need to change the schedule. It's not fair. But at the same time, neither Aaron Glenn nor Ben Johnson were throwing 3 picks. They weren't on the field missing tackles. So I don't know that it was a preparation thing when you get to this point. I just think they got out schemed and outplayed. And guys, let's talk about the NFC North for a second here. They went a combined 40-11 in the regular season. Not one made it to the NFC Championship game.
Goose egg. They didn't even win it. Did they even win a playoff game?
Nope.
Goose egg.
They say all you got to do is get in the dance, right? And anything can happen.
Yep.
But hey, fellas, from a high to a low to an even lower low. I mean, kudos to Bills Mafia for donating a ton of money to Mark Andrews charity after not only fumbling on a crucial drive, but also dropping the game time pass to potentially send it to overtime. Mark Andrews, man, I feel for him. I honestly felt for him, man. That's tough. Alpha, thoughts on the tight end and just on that game in general? How unbelievable was that to see Lamar and Josh Allen go head-to-head one more time?
It was a fantastic game. I still think that even if Mark Andrews made that catch in the end zone, that it was going to be a walk-off field goal by the Bills either way. They had a minute and a half. They had all 3 timeouts. I'm not going to put the whole game on Mark Andrews. He's had a fantastic career, but, man, you got to feel from him because he had the fumble. He also had the drop 2-point conversion. So, he's bearing the brunt of the loss, but let's be honest here, guys. Lamar Jackson does not come through yet again in a big moment. It seems to be the story of this guy's career, unfortunately. And you know what? Did Mark Andrews have that horrific fumble when they were at the 30-yard line when it looked like Lamar just basically dropped it when taking a sack? Did he have the interception? No. So there were still turnovers that happened in that game that were unlike Lamar throughout the regular season, and he's going to have to deal with that up until next year. But I do believe that the better team won. I was on the Bills, so let me tell you something. When that ball hit the ground, when it rolled off Mark Andrews' fingers, I jumped up off my couch and did a center island lap. I did a circle around my living room saying, let's go.
It's a good feeling if you're on the Bills. I was on the
you,
Ravens. So I was one of those guys. I was like, how do you drop that?
And every gambler knows that feeling. You've been on both sides of that. You've had the half-court buzzer beater go in a basketball game that kills you, or you have this kind of situation where you drop something. So totally understand the issues that he had there, but it was a pretty brutal way for the Ravens to lose their season.
Yeah, and it sucks that narrative of Lamar not being able to, do something in the playoffs comes up because when it came down to it, he clutched up, drove the entire field, got the
unbelievable drive. Unbelievable.
Made a great throw to Mark Andrews right in his chest on the 2-point conversion. But now he's saddled with that narrative that he can't get it done still, which is tough.
Well, I mean, you can't throw the first half out the window. The Bills went into halftime up by double digits, and a lot of that was because
the turnover differential is huge. Yeah, turnover differential is huge.
That's the whole play of the postseason.
And the Bills barely put up 250 yards in the game. They didn't have to because they were playing on the Ravens side of the field for the first half.
Yeah, Josh Allen, what did he throw for? Did he even throw for 200 yards? I feel like he hardly had to even break a sweat.
127. 127 yards. Yeah.
Took his helmet off after the game and didn't even have a sweat. I'm like, well, that's fun. Go to the AFC Conference Championship, not even have to sweat. But fellas, before we get into our picks, let's get into our Super Bowl picks. Who are we liking? There's only 4 left. Let's take a look at the updated Super Bowl odds board real fast. We've got the Commanders. We've, of course, got Philly. We've got, who do we have in the AFC? We've got the Bills. And, of course, we've got the Chiefs. So let's look at the updated odds board. We've got the Eagles at plus 175, Chiefs plus 210, Bills plus 250, Commanders at plus 850. And, Matt, I believe you said, obviously, a great sleeper pick and the highest value is the Washington Commanders. And how can you say that's a bad pick? But who are you liking to win?
Yeah, I gave out in that article you're showing there. I gave up 2 best bets. It's there's only 4 teams left. Obviously, I don't think the Commanders are gonna win it all. I don't, but I do think there's value there because this just very well could be a team of destiny. And we'll talk about this game here in a bit. I just they have something about them. You the way they beat the Lions was insane. And I just think no rookie quarterback has made the Super Bowl. 5 have gotten to this point, never have gotten to the Super Bowl, so they haven't won it. But the flip side of this is the Chiefs, guys, and I guess I'm giving away my pick, but I don't know how you bet against Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid at this point. you're just basically rolling the dice when you do this. And so the fact you can get the Chiefs as high earlier this week, they were about 250, I think, at the high spot somewhere. They've come down a bit, 2.5 to 1. They're not the same Chiefs as before, but all that Chiefs team does is win. So I think the Chiefs, among the three primary favorites, I think it's the Chiefs. And if you want to take a shot with Washington, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But I tell you what, they were 150 to 1 when the season started, and then when they lost in week 1, they were 200 to 1 to win the Super Bowl.
Crazy.
That'd be a hot ticket to have right now.
Yeah, right.
That would be unbelievable. Throw $50 on that, and you got almost life-changing money there.
You're a happy camper.
I'm gonna go Chiefs. I mean, how can you bet against Patrick Mahomes? I would love to see the three-peat. I know a lot of people hate the Chiefs and do not want to see the three-peat, but how can you not say you want to witness greatness? I want to witness greatness. I'm going Chiefs at plus 210. I still love that play. Alpha, who's your Super Bowl pick, brother?
Let's be honest here, fellas. Whoever comes out of the AFC. Me personally, by me telling you this, you're going to know my pick a little bit early, but I'm on the Bills. I think the Bills are going to get it done at plus 250. If you want to take a small shot in Washington, I totally understand that because that's the fun, trendy pick. You can make a little bit of coin doing that, and I do think, well, I'm not going to say that now, but the Bills for sure is my number one choice, and after the Bills, probably the Chiefs, and then third, I would go Commanders. Those are my ranking
we'll keep
of the
it
top
with
3.
you. We'll keep it with you here because you have some breaking news, I hear.
Little bit of breaking news, boys. It was just posted that Jalen Hurts is going to need a knee brace in the conference championship. This comes after this morning where, let me pull up the exact phrase that we have from defensive coordinator of the Washington Commanders. 1 second here, as of course I lost it, but it's Joe Witt. Joe Witt, the defensive coordinator of the Commanders, came out and said, if Jalen Hurts does try and run, we are going to treat him as a running back, a.k.a. we're going to be targeting that knee. We're going to be hitting him hard, which I have no problem with him saying any of that. But that just proves how damaged Jalen really is going to be in this game. It looks like he's definitely going to play, but is he going to make it through the whole game? We don't really know. He's going to have a knee brace for the first time in this game, and that kind of tells you everything you need to know about the status of his mobility and what shape his knee is in currently.
Yeah, that just tells me they're going to blow him up. If he establishes himself as a runner, they'll have no problem hitting him in the dirt. But fellas, 12 minutes in, 13 minutes in, we haven't gotten into any picks. It's time. We've got 2 games on the slate. It's conference championship weekend, man. We got the Commanders. We got the Eagles. Let's start this off. We got 68% of bets on the Commanders at +6, +6.5, depending on the sports book you used. I believe the spread opened at 4.5, but has now moved to 6 and 6.5. We have 87% of bets on the over at 47.5. Matt, where are you headed on this one?
Well, this should come as no surprise. I'm gonna pull back on the money line talk. I'm not gonna go there, but I'm taking Commanders plus 6.5. It's 6 everywhere. I think FanDuel's at 6.5. So if you get that extra half point, it doesn't hurt. Especially if this thing goes to overtime, you're protected there. Look, I mentioned the words team of destiny. They seem to have that thing going on. And then when you talk about team of destiny, there's other teams are part of that destiny, right? Last week they catch a Lions team a little flat. The coaching thing you talked about going on, right? All those injuries on defense. Now they got a quarterback who's gimpy, who's a quarterback. If he was just a straight drop back passer, wouldn't be a big deal. But his legs are a huge part of Philadelphia's offense. And if he can't get out of the pocket and run, that cuts their offense in half. It's basically Saquon Barkley against the Commanders, and Barkley's been great, obviously. Washington comes in this game with 7 straight wins. They've covered 6 of them. That includes 3 upsets as a outright upsets as an underdog. One of those outright upsets was 36-33, come from behind win against Philadelphia at home. They outscored the Eagles 22-6 in the fourth quarter. Hurts got knocked out of the game very early with a concussion. And Kenny Pickett came in, and he built a big lead for the Eagles. That's a bit concerning. But the way Jaden Daniels brought this team back, he wasn't very good in the first meeting in Philadelphia. Yeah. Not good at all. He was 22 for 32 for 191 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He only had 18 rushing yards on 7 carries. He was sacked 3 times. Terry McLaurin only had 2 targets and 1 catch for 10 yards in that game. In the second meeting, Daniels completes 24 passes for 258, 5 touchdowns. He does throw 2 interceptions, which he hasn't thrown a pick, guys, by the way, in 66 pass attempts in the playoffs. And he's only been sacked once in the playoffs for no yards. He got 81 rushing yards against the Eagles in that second matchup. He was only sacked once. He hit McLaurin 5 times for 60 yards and a touchdown. So he learned something. I'm worried about the Eagles defense. I'm sorry, the Commanders' rush defense. Barkley went nuts in both those games. 146, 150, total of 4 touchdowns, 2 in each game. And Hurst didn't play, effectively did not play in one of those games. So he still went off. So that is a concern, and it's really the only reason I'm pulling back on a money line play on Washington here, just taking the points. I think it's a competitive game. I don't understand why all the money that came in early was open at 4.5. It's up to 6.5. I'm taking Washington. I'm sticking with the team. I understand that no rookie quarterback's ever made it to the Super Bowl. With this pick, he doesn't have to. He just needs to keep it close. And I think he will, and I will not be the least bit surprised if they win this game. I wouldn't be surprised to see them win it by double digits, to be quite honest with you.
And your favorite prop?
I'm going, despite Jalen Hurts' knee injury, I'm going over 16.5 completions, and here's why.
That kind of helps you because he's not going to be running. He's going to be
exactly. He's not going to be running, and the Commanders are going to stack the line of scrimmage to stop Barkley because of everything I just said. So I know Hurts has only topped 60 completions just once in the last 6 games. He started and finished just 3 times in 12 games since week 5. But this is just a situation. He's also going to open up the screen game, right? The screen short passing game. So another thing that ties into this, keep an eye on Dallas Goedert's props. I think he could hit all of his over props, reception yards, longest reception, which, by the way, he hit on the very first play from scrimmage last week. He had the longest, he had like a 30-yard reception. I think Goddard's a guy to keep an eye on in this game. But to Alpha's point, if that knee starts, he needed a brace at the end of the last game, so he knew he was going to need one this game. If it gives way, and we see Kenny Pickett early, well, then he's not going to come close to 16.5 completion. So there is that concern. But I think they're going to have to drag his ass off the field, like on a freaking ambulance cart, for him not to finish this game.
And you have news on Goddard there, Alpha.
Absolutely. So Goddard's been a true questionable all week. He has not practiced once this week, but it was just announced Goddard is good to go. He finally practiced today, and he will be 100% active and fully good to go. So that supports your Goddard pick 100%.
A little bit of Alpha breaking news, and I'll throw it over to myself before I throw over to Alpha your props, because I want to showcase your prop piece as well some more. I'm going Commanders, Eagles over. I mean, if you're on the Commanders +6, I totally get where you're coming from. You know, what Dan Quinn and that team has done this year has been nothing short of spectacular. If you had Washington in the NFC Conference Championships at the beginning of the season, I think you'd probably be a little drunk. You'd have a little Jameson in your veins. But here they are, you know, led by the unanimous offensive rookie of the year, Jaden Daniels. But does that defense in place, Matt, and you touched upon that, does that rush defense, are they going to be able to stop Saquon and company? Well, they've had a pretty good run as of late. You know, the Eagles are an entirely new animal. But in this matchup, I think both offenses get it done in this one. So I'm taking the over 47.5. And I think you don't really have to be a mathematician to see a path to scoring for Philly. You know, Washington gave up 138 yards per game on the ground, and that was the third worst rushing defense in the league. I believe they're the third worst. Pretty bad. Last week, Jahmyr Gibbs rushed for 105 yards on 14 carries, which was like a 7.5 yard average, which is just ridiculous. What Saquon's going to do to them is, with arguably the best offensive line in the National Football League, is just going to be something to watch. You know, a few weeks ago, Barkley ran against Washington to the tune of 150 yards on nearly 29 attempts in that 36-33 game that we saw. And then you throw in Jalen Hurts, and the Commanders defense will have its hands full, you know. And we talked about it pretty much the entire time. On the other side, you're crazy if you think Jaden Daniels isn't going to get his in this game. So I think this over is kind of matchup proof here. I really love it. I'm going to go the over 47.5. I think everything that you look at in this game is pointing towards that. And I think one of the reasons why is Jaden Daniels. So I'm going to rock with him for my prop as well. He's just an incredible player. His number is just eerily low, like 224 for a team that may just be relying on his arm in this one, especially if Philly can get some points on the board, which, you know, we all think they can. I'm confidently taking the over in this one. He's gone over that number in 5 straight games. You know, Philly's pass defense is one of the best in the regular season. We all know that, but Stafford just threw for 324 yards and 2 touchdowns against them. Daniels already threw for 258 and 5 passing touchdowns against them in Washington's 36-33 win against them in week 16. So I'm firing him up over 224. I also like Daniels 2+ passing touchdowns at +120. So just fire me up for a lot of points in this one, and fire you up for Jaden Daniels, man. I love that kid. Alpha, who are you liking in this one, brother?
Before I go into my play, I do want to touch upon your prop bet of Jaden Daniels. So last week, my prop of the week I gave out on the show was Jaden Daniels over 234.5. It was 10 yards higher. He threw for 299, and he could have went more if they didn't end up really blowing them out at the end of the game where they were just running the clock out. He could have gotten significantly more. So I absolutely love that play from you. I think they're really undermarking the value of Daniels' passing yards. But in this specific game, what I'm taking is the Washington Commanders plus the 6.5 at minus 120. I've only been able to find that on FanDuel. That's exactly what I'm playing. This game to me is going to come down to a field goal either way, in either direction. I think this game ends by 3 or less for whoever wins it. This is an in-division rivalry. These guys know each other. They know each other's teams. It's very hard to play a team 3 times in 1 year and blow them out on the final game. They know what the other team is going to do to them. And to the point of Saquon's going to run crazy, Saquon's going to run crazy. There's no doubt about it. He is absolutely going to have a huge game. However, do I think by keeping Jalen Hurts in the pocket, making him be a passer first is going to be an issue at some point in the game? I do. I can see either a fumble on a sack, an interception or two to get the Commanders the ball in good position. The same thing they did against the Lions. This Commanders defense is opportunistic. They may not be the best defense in the league. They play hard under Coach Quinn, and they're opportunistic. They create turnovers, and in big moments, they're able to make some plays. They get run over all day. Well,
what just happened?
His take was so hot.
Is that a fire alarm? It looks like it's a fire alarm. We can still hear you. Keep going. I don't think we can even hear the fire alarm.
No, he muted himself.
Oh, that makes sense. Well, Bobby Wagner's a dog. I really like that play. While his fire alarm goes off, I will show which his prop piece that we have over at Oddspedia Insights. He was about to go Brian Robinson anytime touchdown. We love Brian Robinson over here. Scary Terry, he's also one of his plays. So if you're into Alpha's plays, you heard him off the top of the show. He's 12-1 on his free plays on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. So head on over to his X. If you missed out on his props here, you know he loves the Commanders +6. I think we're all kind of loving Commanders +6 here. I'm on the over, but until he returns and until hopefully his building doesn't burn down or anything like that, let's head on over to our next game. Matt, what do you say?
Yeah, I'm good. And Alpha, take care of yourself, buddy. Yeah, that's not good. Live stream, ladies and gentlemen. This is what happens sometimes.
Streams, hey, we love it. We love it. I saw as soon as it was the lights in the background. As soon as I saw the lights in the background, I'm like, yeah, that's a fire drill right there.
Live without a net.
And we're just getting in from Alpha saying that they're saying it's a real fire, so he will probably have to evacuate the building. So it's down to a 2-man show between me and Matt. We absolutely love it. Alpha, thanks for coming out. Stay safe, brother. We love you. Okay, so let's head on over to the Bills and Chiefs, Matt. One of the best, obviously, another matchup between these two. One of the best matchups on the slate, if not of the entire season. Absolutely love to see these two go head-to-head. 80% are on the over at 47.5. 71% are on the Bills +1.5. Matt, what are you liking here?
That's I'm really surprised by those percentages on the Bills. I really am, just given who the Chiefs are. I know the Bills have a little bit of a darling element to them, and of course, there's a ton of Chiefs fatigue out there. You kind of mentioned Dustin too about just this. People are just tired of seeing the Chiefs win. We saw it with the Patriots when they got to about 3 Super Bowls. People said that's enough, and they go on to win 4 more, unfortunately. I totally understand. And again, you're right. This is a tremendous matchup. We pretty much knew for about the last half of the season it was going to be Bills, Chiefs, Ravens. 2 of those 3 teams would be the last 2 standing in this game, and we got Bills, Chiefs, which I think is a better game than Ravens, Chiefs. Personally, I think it's going to be a more entertaining game. But I'm on the Chiefs money line here. I don't want to screw around with the points because I could see a close game. Although the Chiefs have never had a win in the Mahomes Reed era that's been less than 3 points. I don't want to play around. Let's take the Chiefs on the money line -122 at FanDuel. Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid in the playoffs, Dustin. They're 16-3, 8 straight wins. They're 11-1 at home. Now you look at Josh Allen and Sean McDermott in the playoffs. They're 7-2, against teams not named the Chiefs. But they're 0-3 against the Chiefs in the playoffs. They're also 0-3 on the road. 2 of those road losses were in Kansas City. They've never won 3 straight games in a postseason in 5 tries with Allen and McDermott. And you look at the 8 Allen McDermott matchups since 2020, in Mahomes, Kansas City, they're only 1-4 straight up against the spread in the regular season. They lost 4 in a row, but again, they've won those 3 playoff games. Kansas City's 21-1 in its last 22 meaningful games, including 10 straight wins at home. The one loss was at Buffalo in Week 11, but again, it was at Buffalo, and again, regular season. Buffalo played 4 games on the road versus playoff teams this year. They lost 35-10 to Baltimore, 23-20 at Houston, 44-42 at the Rams, and they beat the Lions. Look at Kansas City at home, 6-0 against playoff teams. Yes, some of those were close games, but again, we're not asking them to cover any points here. We're just asking them to win on the money line. Dustin, I want to end with this. This is something I said last year going into the Chiefs-Bills game. Said last year going into the Chiefs-Ravens AFC Championship game, and said last year going into the Chiefs-49ers Super Bowl. I was on KC in all 3 games, and what I said was, if I take the Chiefs and lose, I will feel okay with that. If I go against the Chiefs and lose, I can't live with myself. So that's where I'm at with this game. And I will point out also, just to fill some time here, this game being at 48.5 is really interesting because these teams have played a bunch of games in the 50s, 51 or higher in 5 of the last 7 meetings. So I think the odds makers are trying to tell you something here. This is going to be a little bit more of a defensive battle, which again is another reason to play the money line. Take the points out of the way if you're on KC, which I am.
And we've got Alpha back on the show, somewhat on his telephone, on his cell phone. Can we hear you?
The cell phone cam on this. Can you guys hear me? Am I coming in?
Yeah, we got you.
We got him. All right, I'm here. Yeah, a little fire going on here. A little email saying get the hell out of the building because it's an actual fire. So I'm plopped up here in 5-degree weather for you boys. Let's keep it rolling.
Love it. You want to give us your Bills Chiefs? We're gonna head over to Matt your props piece soon. But Alpha, while we got you here, who are you on between the Bills and the Chiefs, and why? Let's go.
I am on the Bills, boys. As I told you guys in my Super Bowl. Oh, there I go. Am I back?
You're back. You're back. Keep her going.
I am on the Bills. I picked them to win the Super Bowl, guys. I think they're going to have a big performance here. I am a little worried that their starting safety is going to be out in this game. Taylor Rapp was. They did say that earlier, so that does concern me a decent bit. But I'm still all over the Bills here. I do think they have a big performance, and I do think they get the win, and Josh Allen is finally able to topple Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs.
I do want to point out one thing, Dustin, on my pick, if I could, real quick. I just wanted to say this too. I don't love this pick. All right, That's not like a 5-star play. I would not be the least bit surprised if Buffalo wins this game. It just goes back to my point about I just can't bet against the Chiefs until they lose.
Yep, I agree. Hey, I'm on the Chiefs too. But Matt, before we kick it over to myself, I guess you're liking Travis Kelce as well, aren't you?
Yeah, again, this dovetails with that last. How do you go against the Chiefs? How do you go against Travis Kelce? Over 67.5 receiving yards. He had 117 of Mahomes' 177 passing yards against the Texans last week. It was a season high in yards. Only the second time he had over 90 yards all season. Alpha gets all the credit in the world. He said it all season long. He said it last week too. Kelce under, bench him on your fantasy team during the regular season. They're going to save him. They're not going to use him in the regular season. He comes to life in the playoffs, and he did. He came to life. He's now topped 70 receiving yards, guys, in 14 straight playoff games. He's beaten this prop number 14 straight times. He even went over 90 in 10 of those games. 3 games of those were against the Bills. He had 118 in the AFC title game back in 21. He had 96 in the divisional game back in 21-22, and it's 75 yards in last year's divisional game. The last 14 games, Kelce's had fewer than 8 targets just twice. He only had 2 when he faced the Bills earlier this year, and he only had 2 catches. He had 4 targets and 2 catches against the Bills in Buffalo earlier this year. He's blown those numbers away in the playoffs. And again, it's just a different beast in the playoffs. So, and again, Buffalo last week got lit up by Likely and Andrews for 139 receiving yards. They've got a bunch of receiving yards to tight ends recently. So I'm on Kelce. If Kelce doesn't hit this prop, Kansas City's not winning this game. There's another pick for you.
I don't know what Kelce's on because every single time he catches a chunk play, for some reason he's just wide open over the middle of the field. It's like he just gets lost in the defense all the time, and then he just chugs up field for an extra 15, 20 yards. How are you letting arguably the best defensive or tight end ever to play the game be that wide open? It's beyond me. But I'm going to head over, and we've got Chiefs money line. We got Bills. I'm going Chiefs -1.5. I'm with you here. Matt, I totally get why 71% of the bets would be on the Bills, but like I said, and like you've said, Matt, by principle, I'm not going against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs here. You know, why fix nothing? Why try and fix something that's not broken, right? You're laying 1.5 points down with Patrick Mahomes. I think it's a no-brainer. I'm with Taylor Swift. I'm with everyone. History's on our side.
Caitlin Clark. Don't forget about Caitlin Clark.
I'm with Caitlin Clark too, you know. And the thing is too, like the KC defense is like even better this year, and they've gotten fully healthy at the right time. And Patrick Mahomes has never, ever had this type of talent at his disposal. You know, you got DeAndre Hopkins, you got Hollywood Brown back, you got Kelsey, you got Xavier Worthy, you got Pacheco, all are ready to go. And on the defensive side, you know, that's a top 10 rushing defense. They allowed just over 100 yards per game. We know Allen will be running. Nick Bolton will be the guy who needs to have a huge game if they want to stop the Bills on third down. You know, that unit just a week ago sacked Stroud 8 times, limited the Texans to 1-3 in the red zone in the fourth quarter. You know, all those moments were huge, you know, and that's what you want to see from a defense in the playoffs. You know, they allowed basically no points in those huge situations. And we talked about health, you know, Rapp's out, Milano's questionable, Taron Johnson has a neck, Benford has a concussion. Like I said, Rapp's out with a hip. They just, you know, that defense is just banged up. So I get KC gets the timely calls, but betting against Andy Reid, and like you heard it from Matt, their record, it's just a fool's game to bet against them. So I'm taking KC at home. I'm on the Chiefs train, and I also like the over in this game for what it's worth. But my number one pick will be the Chiefs -1.5. And Alpha, you've got a prop, brother. I think it's the same prop that I have, which I absolutely love.
Josh Allen, anytime rushing, brother, at -110.
Sir.
We're riding the wagon yet again. We've been cashing this all season long, boys. We're going to cash it again. When they get inside the 5-yard line, they're not going to be handing the ball off in this game. They're not going to want to turn the ball over in this game. And I think it's going to be a healthy dose of Josh Allen up the middle, and he should be able to find the end zone at least once. I could see him getting in twice.
Yeah, no, I could see the same thing. You know, I'm on Josh Allen anytime too. We'll wrap the show up with a couple Josh Allens, but you said it, man. Every time they get close, it's Josh Allen. You know, he passed for just 127 yards in freezing temperatures last week versus the Ravens. He opts to use his legs in short bursts. You know, the Bills are playing bully ball with him now, calling QB draws all over the place. They don't care about his body anymore. You know, they want a Super Bowl, okay? With cold weather expected in Kansas City again, you know, I'm betting on Allen to score 1 at +100 or even 2. You know, I think it's at +700 to get 2 touchdowns. KC's defense allowed I think 0.25 rushing touchdowns per game to a QB on average this year, including one to Russell Wilson in week 17. And then Josh Allen scored another one in week 11. So I really like Josh Allen here as an anytime touchdown. And if you want to sprinkle some more, go for Josh Allen to score 2, because like we said, the Bills don't care about his body anymore. They want Super Bowls. They want championships.
True.
All right, fellas. Hey, that's 2 games. 2 games up, 2 games down. I appreciate you guys coming in. We appreciate the 440 of you coming in for this short show. Hey, we'll see you in a couple weeks for Super Bowl. For Alpha, get your ass back into your house. I'm hoping
I'm so cold. This is awful.
It looks cold. It looks cold.
I got two words. I got 2 words for you, Alpha. Bada bing. They got Wi-Fi, right?
One. Yeah, they got Wi-Fi. Unfortunately, my 74-year-old father is out here standing as well. He was up. The fire trucks are arriving, boys. It's getting real over here.
Oh, geez.
Hey, we love the dedication too for you to come back on the show outside.
Not only do these players play in negative degree weather, I'm here putting on for you boys as well.
Degree
weather. That's right.
Let's go.
That's what you get on this show. All right, you get passion, you get dedication. All right, no matter what, guys. Let's have some fun this weekend and let's win some cash. We'll see y'all for Super Bowl.
Peace.
Appreciate everybody. Take it easy.